Hello.
Hello.
I'd like to ask two things. I'm a bit nervous, actually, but I'll get on with it.
Okay, I like people who say they're a bit nervous. That's good. I like that.
Today I heard the news about a teacher having a suspended sentence for slapping a child.
3 months suspended for a year.
I only caught the tail end of it because I was in and out, seeing to my other child, who has been slapped in school, and my other children have been slapped in school. And I approached the teacher, who said that sometimes that's what it takes. And it did. It stopped the problem, though I was upset about it. And there was, I can't remember which organisation is trying to prevent parents from slapping their children. Well, I've had to slap my little one 4 times today.
No, you haven't.
Yeah, I gave her 3 warnings not to kick the television.
No, you haven't had to slap anybody. There's no had to in this.
Yes, but it worked. She didn't kick the I didn't slap her hard.
It didn't work.
Well, she didn't kick it again. And
Is the television more important to you than your child?
No.
Then why do you stop your daughter doing something to a TV because it's wrong when you yourself are doing the same thing to your child, and yet somehow it's right?
But I didn't slap her hard.
Now, excuse me, and a kick...
Just enough. No, I didn't kick.
Yeah, well, what damage was she doing kicking the telly?
But she could have broken it and hurt herself.
She didn't, though, did she?
No, but she could have.
In other words, but she didn't, did she? And you could have broken her neck, but you didn't, did you?
No, I slapped the back of her legs.
Okay,
always.
fine.
Sometimes the shoulder.
Okay, fine. And we don't know what psychological damage that may do, but we'll come back to that in just a second. Do you see the irony in using violence to try to persuade somebody not to use violence?
Yes, I understand that. But...
Oh! It's silly, isn't it? Isn't it silly? Isn't it silly to say it's wrong to kick out a television? So wrong, I'm going to lash out at you.
Yes.
Bonkers, isn't it? Isn't it bonkers?
Yes.
I mean,
I can understand.
It really does make your child think that you love the TV set more than her.
No, she was actually sitting on her stool and swaying back and forward. I mean, she could have slipped off the stool and gone straight into the...
And the ceiling could have fallen down on her, and the Russians could have declared war, and we could all have been dead, and all of those things could have happened. But what actually happened was, you got cross.
Yes.
Why did you really get cross? Are you tired? That's perfectly valid.
Well, it had been a long day. We've been to the festival in
This is what happens, isn't it? This is what happens.
And I asked her to
I bet that was rubbish as well, wasn't it?
Well, the children enjoyed it.
Well, you say that. I've seen some terrible things down there at Cardiff put on for the children. I don't know what they're supposed to enjoy about some of the stuff that gets put before them in Cardiff.
Well, anyway,
I'm serious, Maria. I bet you. Did she really enjoy it? Love it to pieces?
Yes, I had to pull her away from there. I had to pull her away.
You're doing a lot of changing what your daughter wants to do, aren't you? Shall I tell you what I do? And I'm not a brilliant parent, but I let people do what they want to do. They find out for themselves whether it's worth anything.
But sometimes a small smack can be just enough, not to...
Rubbish.
I mean...
I'm sorry, mate. I'm sorry. I don't agree with you.
Okay.
I'm a teacher. I'm a parent. I'm a youth worker. I'm a foster parent. I'm a professional. My wife's a professional. She's a professional in childcare. We are both agreed. Under absolutely no circumstances.
Sometimes I would punish her.
Under absolutely no circumstances is it anything other than a crime against the child for the child to be hit by somebody who is simply able to do it because they're bigger than them. Now, you wouldn't do it if your daughter was 12 feet tall, would you?
No, she's too big.
If your daughter was twice your size, you wouldn't do it, would you?
No, I wouldn't.
But you're twice her size.
Yes.
So you can, and so you do.
But I just wanted to learn to respect, the home she lives in and, things around her that are, that are expensive. And
How old is she?
7.
How much did your telly cost?
Oh, I don't know, £350.
How much is she worth?
Millions.
There it is then. 08700 40 50 60 is the telephone number. Just don't hit children. Don't hit anybody. Don't take a loaded shotgun to bed. It's all there in the same thing. You know, just don't do it. People say, I had to give him a slap. You don't. That's simply not true. If you're going to hit somebody bigger than you. If you really have to hit somebody massively bigger than you, massively stronger than you, massively fitter than you. And if you come to me or anybody else and say, I had to do it, well, at least we all know it wasn't bullying. 08700 40 50 60. Let's go to Willie, who calls from somewhere near Glasgow. Whereabouts exactly, Willie?
Hello, Tommy.
Welcome to TalkSPORTS.
Listen to you every night. I'm a lorry driver, actually. I've got a young granddaughter, and we do ring-a-ring-a roses, a pocket full of posies, and we all fall down. And the love in that granddaughter, when we all fall down, and she says, hello, Granda. Hello, Granda. Tom, it's a pleasure to listen to you every night. And that's all I can say.
Thank you for that, Willie. Very kind. 08700 40 50. John has called from Bells Hill, which I understand is near Motherwell, on the old Concorde crash. Is that right, John? Hello.
Hi, good morning, Tommy.
Hi.
I was just listening to the programme tonight, and I was watching the news earlier on tonight, and I've been watching the news reports on the catastrophic Concorde crash in Paris, and I was just wondering, the thought occurred to me, I wonder whether we'll really be told the truth, about this disaster.
What are you saying, that nobody will ever, that perhaps the truth will never be uncovered, or that somebody knows the truth and is therefore being economical with it?
Well, I would say the latter.
What makes you think that?
Well, I suppose that if you remember just a couple of days before the accident, they mentioned that the British Concords, they had found cracks in the wing, and that they were going to be testing them. There was one of them had actually been grounded, and they actually admitted that all the British Concords had these cracks on the wing. Now, we know that the wings are the fuel tank for the aeroplane.
The wings, sorry, we know that what? The wings?
The wings are the fuel tank.
The wings are the fuel tank?
Yeah. And I don't know, I just, watching the film, I mean, I never have thought it was the engine. The first photograph that I seen of it, to me, it just didn't look as if it was the engine that was firing. It looked as if it was actually the wing. And tonight they actually confirmed that the fire was outside of the engine. And I was just wondering, whether the cracks that had appeared on the British ones. Now, there is only, 11 Concords in service. The British have 7 and the French have 4. Well, we have 3 now. But I was just wondering whether it would actually turn out to be that the cracks really did have something to do with that plane crash the other day.
Well, it's going to be pretty difficult to find out, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because when a plane crashes, there goes a lot of your evidence, if not all of your evidence, and it must be extremely difficult to piece it together. And if you recall ever seeing documentaries about plane crashes, do you remember the TWA flight which crashed into the sea?
Yeah.
A couple of years ago, just north of New York Airport, JFK, I think.
Yeah, that's right.
And at one point there was talk about the possibility that some missile had accidentally been launched from a US warship that was on exercise quite close to the crash site.
Yeah.
And what they did was, I remember being astonished by how much of the aircraft they were able to piece together in an attempt to find out what might have gone wrong. And they were able to assemble something like half of the plane that they recovered from the seabed. And yet the simple fact of the matter is that they're still no nearer to finding out what caused that. Just as there's still, I understand, a debate going on in Holland, isn't it? Where those two defendants are being tried in connection with the Lockerbie disaster. There's still debate there going on as to where the device was located on the plane.
Yeah.
Although at the time, shortly after the tragedy, it became accepted that it was in one of the overhead lockers towards the front and on the port side of the plane. Even now, after so much investigation and examination of that crash, and investigation into the possible means by which the device was planted on the plane, even now they're still not sure whereabouts it was, and therefore presumably what sort of a device it was, and what sort of effect it would have had on the plane when it was in the air. Now that tells me, I think, and of course it's in everybody's interest that the truth is discovered in the case of every plane crash, but we do know that more effort and intensity has been put into examining Lockerbie than perhaps any other plane crash.
Yeah, well, I mean, America's got a vested interest.
Yeah, sure.
But
what I'm saying is that it may be that, you know, in the case of what happened to Concorde, they will be able to come up with a probable cause of the crash.
Yeah.
And everybody will be wanting to say it was nothing to do with me. The people who were supposed to check cracks, the people who were supposed to have changed over that part on the doomed plane that delayed the takeoff for 45 minutes or an hour, whatever it was, they're going to be anxious to make it quite clear that they didn't leave a fuel pipe unattached. And the people who supplied and tested the tyres, who are also under scrutiny because people are saying that perhaps the tyre was blown. I can't quite work out how a fire can have started.
Yeah, I was thinking that as well. You know, how does a plane blow up?
Yeah.
Because a tyre blows.
Well, here's what we do. I think here's what we have to do. We have to, first of all, remember the people who have died and the relatives of those.
Most definitely.
We have to do that now, all of us, and just think of that.
I think, Tommy, that...
Let's do that now. Let's just think of them for a second. What that must be like to get that phone call. Or worse, perhaps, to be watching the television news and discovering and then thinking, hang on. My God. They were going to be on that. You know, so let's just think of that. Thank you. That was good. And and leave the rest of it to the experts.
Well,
you have to, don't you, in the end?
I'd just like to say one last thing, Tommy, before I go. I think the pilot of that plane was an extremely brave man.
Yes.
An extremely brave man.
Thank you for that.